I'd like to propose you making a flower composition. It can be made either with natural components or with paper. Because our website is called Newspaper Weaving, I'd like to adjust the beauty of nature to our topic, weaving with recycled newspaper. Nature doesn't satisfy us with its materials all the year round. It depends on season. It is the first reason why I've decided to touch upon this topic. The second one is that I've just felt like approaching to the beauty of nature at least a little. My first attempt to adopt the topic of flowers to newspaper weaving turned into a cupola garland with flowers shaped like these, if you happen to remember. This floral composition is made of natural components, bulrush leaves. I woven the composition with fresh bulrush and painted it, so it still looks fresh and nice for about 2 or 3 months already. So this is the kind of a bouquet you can make with natural materials and keep it for quite a while. I've liked the idea, and to continue the topic, I've tried a different shape of a flower. This one has been woven with bulrush leaves as well. However, it is autumn now, leaves are grown yellow, so it has made me think of how to make such compositions in other seasons, not only when fresh leaves are available. That's why I've tried and made a paper floral composition. I've liked the result, so I've decided to present my daughter's teachers with such unusual flowers on Teachers' Day. Today I'd like to show you the way I've come to the idea, what kind of paper I've used, and how I've made the flowers. First of all, let's learn to roll roses like this. The first thing I'd like to draw your attention to is paper. At first I've tried making flowers with newspaper, and they've turned out a bit too rough. So I've started looking for alternatives. I've got such thin paper I've used for weaving flowers and leaves for cupola garland. Tubes made of this paper look like thin straw. I mean thin tubes meant for weaving leaves. As for thick tubes I've woven flowers with, they are rather soft and are like paper and fabric at the same time. Such tubes are perfect for shaping flowers. So I cut paper into wide stripes, because I'd like to make large and rich flowers. Let's measure the size. My stripes are 8 centimeters wide, about 3 inches, and 63 centimeters long, about 25 inches. Well, 25-inch long stripes make big flowers like these. If you'd like smaller flowers, you can make the stripes shorter. Small flowers look nice as well. If you've noticed, I roll tubes round a pencil. It doesn't necessarily have to be a pencil, but it has to be something thick. Besides, there is one peculiarity about this process. It is somewhat different from the way I usually roll tubes. I try my best to make this end rather thin. I don't roll this end tight on purpose. Look, here my tube is rather thin, while here it's thick enough. If the tube doesn't unroll, I do unroll it a little on purpose in order to make diameter at the beginning and the end different. I roll and glue it the way I usually do. You can flatten it right away. That's all. I've got half a flower. Now let's make the second tube. In order to shape one rose, I need 2 thick tubes like this. What to do if you don't have paper like this? I do realize this kind of paper is rather peculiar, so I've tried buying special cookery parchment paper. I've guessed it right, the flowers have turned out rather nice. The second tube is ready. So let me tell you a bit more about parchment paper. It is the way a raw flower made of the paper like this looks. You see, the paper gets sold rolled. It is rather thin as well, and it fits perfectly for the flowers. This is the same paper, but I painted the tubes pearl. The paint is called metallic, produced by the composite company Acrylic Enamel. I've painted each tube with a brush. This flower has been colored with red paint, this one with black paint, the same metallic produced by composite. Since we started talking about paints, let me show you. This is a paint by a different producer, Maxima, but actually it is just similar. This one is called Old Bronze, that one is silver. All of these are pearl paints. Here you can see them in usage. This paint is pearl with golden hint. So what do we need for making a rose? Let's start weaving a rose. Please notice that we are weaving a regular white rose. As for these roses, I woven them white and then painted the ready flowers with pearl paint. For weaving these roses, I've colored the tubes with a brush beforehand from both sides. Acrylic paint gets dry very fast, so I've woven roses with painted paper on the same day. Here is an example. A black tube left from a black rose. So, take the stripes by their thin ends and put them one onto another. This part is going to be a flower stem. We are going to wind them up afterwards, so we do need these stems. So, I've placed one stripe onto another at a sharp angle and start rolling them like this. Notice that I lift the stems from the very beginning and start rolling around them. I found the material on weaving like this, at least in websites, where they weave with natural flowers and natural materials, and they are really extremely beautiful. But because we do not have such natural materials as palm trees, palm leaves for example, we have to adapt to the material we've got. Well, of course, first of all I've tried weaving with natural materials, they are incomparable. But there are some inconveniences about working with such natural materials, that's why we often have to experiment with other materials. So, it is the way a flower looks before any trimming from the very beginning. Now we are adjoining the tube ends to the tail, after which we shape the petals with our fingers with such movements. Our material is rather flexible, and unlike natural materials, it can be treated rather well. You may bend these petals down, raise those ones, shape the rose the way you like. First of all, you need to pull the middle down a little. But please don't pull it too hard. Because the ends of our tubes are of different diameter, thicker petals form rich edge of a rose, while a thin end forms the middle of a flower. This rose is rather rich, but you can use shorter tubes and your rose will be thinner, if you believe it is too large. Then tie it with a piece of thread. You may knot it or leave it this way, it holds well enough. That's all. The first rose is ready.